Please let me live. I will carry your child." A weak but unbroken voice rose into the burning emptiness. The desert lay open and silent. Nothing moved except heat and wind. A rough wooden frame stood alone under the open sky. Ropes pulled tight, holding a woman stretched wide. Her name was Kyra, tall and powerfully built, her body shaped by survival, not comfort. Sunlight scorched her skin. Dry blood marked her arms and legs. Sand clung to wounds that never had time to close. She had been left there on purpose, not to die quickly, but to let the land decide her end. The men who did this wanted something she would never give, the hidden water of her people, a secret guarded by the mountain tribe. Kyra had stayed silent, so they tied her here and walked away. Hoofbeats came from far behind the heat waves. Slow, measured, a lone rider stopped at a distance, watching. His name was Jonah Reed, a rancher who lived far from towns, far from trouble, or so he believed. He had seen death before, but never a woman offered to the desert. Kyra lifted her head. Her breath was thin, but her eyes were sharp. She did not cry. She did not beg. She had already spoken and waited. Jonah stayed on his horse. The past pressed against his chest. Memories of blood and choices avoided. If he helped, men would return, guns would follow, and the law would not protect him. The desert did not care. It only waited. Kyra drew a slow breath, forcing herself to stay awake. Jonah finally dismounted. His boots sank into sand. Each step toward her felt like stepping back into a life he had buried. When his hand touched the knife, he already knew. Turning away would never leave him. The rope fell in one clean cut. Kyra dropped, but she did not collapse. Jonah caught her, feeling the weight of pain and strength together. He lowered her to the ground. She clenched her jaw, endured the fire rushing back into her limbs. "Do you have water?" she asked. He handed her the canteen. She drank carefully, like someone who knew how to survive suffering. "They will return," she said. "Not fear, only truth." Jonah nodded. The sun burned lower, casting long shadows across the sand. "You can leave," she said. Jonah looked at the horizon. "If I leave now," he said, "I stay the man I was." Kyra studied him. No gratitude, no promise, only understanding. The desert watched. As two strangers stood side by side, the choice was made, and the land remembered. The heat did not ease when the rope fell. It pressed harder, as if the land itself questioned the choice that had been made. Kyra lay on the sand, breathing slowly. Each breath a battle, each second a victory. Jonah stood near her, unsure where to place his hands, unsure where his life now stood. The wooden frame creaked behind them, empty, accusing. Kyra pushed herself onto one elbow. Her arms trembled but held. She refused help, not out of pride, but habit. The desert teaches you to rely on yourself or die. Jonah watched her closely. She was wounded, burned, nearly broken. Yet her eyes never searched the ground. They searched the distance. "They will return," she said again, closer this time. Jonah nodded. He had already accepted it. The moment his boots touched the sand, he handed her water again. She drank a little more, then forced herself to stand. Pain moved through her body like fire, but she stayed upright. "You should not move," he said. She looked at him, steady, clear. "If I stop," she said, "I will not start again." Jonah did not argue. He had learned long ago. Some people survive by motion alone. They walked away from a frame, slowly, toward scattered rocks where shadows still lived. Kyra leaned against stone, closing her eyes only for a moment. Jonah scanned the horizon. The desert offered no protection, only time. "Why did they do this to you?" he asked. Kyra opened her eyes. "Because water is power," she said. "And men who do not understand the land believe power can be stolen." She told him of her people, how they listened to stone and wind, how water ran deep beneath the mountain, how it could only be found by respect. Jonah listened, not interrupting. He thought of his ranch, his fences, his papers, All the things he once believed made him safe. Dust lifted in the distance. Jonah felt it before he saw it. The old instinct. Sharp. Awake. They are coming, he said. Kyra nodded. Already moving. She picked up the knife he had dropped earlier, tested its weight. Her stance changed. Pain still lived in her body, but it no longer ruled it. They climbed higher among the rocks, finding cover, finding angles. Jonah checked his rifle, counted his shots. The riders appeared one by one. 5 silhouettes against the sun. Laughter carried across the sand. They see the empty frame, one voice said. Looks like the desert finished her. Jonah waited, breathing slow. One rider dismounted, following the trail. When he stepped between the rocks, Kyra moved, fast, silent. The knife struck deep, clean. The man fell without a sound. Jonah fired at the same moment. The shot cracked the air. Panic followed. Shouts. Wild gunfire. Dust exploding. Kyra moved like stone breaking loose. Using pain. Using anger. Using memory. One man charged her. Thinking injury meant weakness. He was wrong. She struck him down. Hard. Final. Jonah fired again. Then again. When the dust settled, only one rider remained. He did not charge. He watched. Caleb Rourke. Jonah felt the name before it was spoken. You never learn to walk away, Caleb shouted. Jonah stepped into view. Not today. Caleb laughed. Cold. Sharp. This is not finished, he said. Then he turned and fled. Silence returned. Heavy. Thick. Kyra leaned against the rock, breathing hard. Jonah reached for her, steadying her. This will not end here, she said. Jonah looked at the horizon, where Caleb had vanished. I know. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows. For the first time, Jonah did not feel trapped by his past. He felt anchored. 2 survivors stood together, not by bargain, not by force, but by choice. And the desert listened. The desert cooled as the sun slipped lower. Shadows stretched long across the stone, but danger did not fade with the light. Kyra sat against the rock, her breathing slow but controlled. Blood darkened the bandage around her arm. Jonah tore cloth from his shirt, wrapping it tighter, his hand steady, his mind loud. You should not still be standing, he said. Kyra looked at him, calm, certain. Standing is how I live. The wind passed through the rocks, carrying the smell of dust and iron. Jonah kept watch. Every sound sharpened. The old life fully awake inside him. You know that man, she said. Jonah did not answer at first. The past does not stay buried out here, he finally said. Kyra waited. Silence was something she respected. I used to hunt men, Jonah said. Not for justice. For money. Names. Faces. Payments. He stared at the sand. Sometimes the wrong people were in the wrong place. Kyra understood before he finished. The land remembers, she said. So do people. Night began to settle. Stars broke through the sky. They could not stay. Fire would give them away. Stillness would kill her. We move now, Kyra said. Jonah nodded. They walked into a narrow ravine, where rock walls held back the wind, and shadows lived longer. Kyra stumbled once, then steadied herself. Jonah stayed close, not touching unless needed. Why protect the water alone, he asked. Kyra stopped, turning to face him. Because war is what they want, and war destroys everything, even what it claims to protect. Jonah understood. He had seen wars born from pride. She spoke of her people. Children taught to listen before speaking. Elders who read stone like maps. Water treated as life, not power. Jonah felt something shift. His land had always been owned. Hers was shared. They reached a sheltered bend. Kyra lowered herself slowly, pain finally demanding payment. Jonah offered water. This time she drank deeply. Caleb will return, she said. Not with men who laugh, with men who plan. Jonah checked his rifle. Then we end it right. Kyra studied him. The change was clear. You are not running anymore. Jonah shook his head. I ran long enough. The fire inside her eyes softened, not into relief, but respect. Night fully claimed the desert, cold replacing heat. Jonah placed himself between her and the open land. Sleep if you can, he said. Kyra closed her eyes, trusting him without words. As the stars turned, Jonah stayed awake, watching, listening. The desert tested him, with memories, with fear. But he did not move. When dawn came, he was still there, and he knew, whatever followed, he would face it standing, side by side, with the woman the desert failed to break. Morning arrived without mercy, cold light spreading across stone and sand. Kyra woke before the sun fully rose. Pain greeted her first, then clarity. Jonah was already watching the horizon, rifle resting against his knee. "You did not sleep," she said. Jonah shook his head. Some habits never leave. They shared water, measured, careful. Every drop mattered. "We move east," Kyra said, toward the broken hills. Jonah followed without question. The land changed slowly, sand giving way to rock, rock folding into narrow paths. Kyra knew each turn, each shadow, each place where sound carried. "This land remembers my people," she said. "It does not forget us." Jonah believed her. Near midday, they found tracks. Fresh, deliberate. "Caleb is testing us," Jonah said. Kyra nodded. "He wants us tired, afraid, divided." They did not give him that. They climbed higher, using the sun to their advantage. By afternoon, they saw the riders below, 3 of them, moving carefully. Jonah felt the old rhythm return. Distance, angle, timing. Kyra touched his arm. "Not yet." She led him along a ridge, circling wide, letting the wind carry false trails. One rider broke away, following the wrong path. Kyra moved like shadow, silent, decisive. The fight was brief, close, final. She returned without a word, blood on her hand, resolve untouched. Jonah watched her, not with fear, but recognition, survival shaped in human form. They pressed on, reaching a narrow pass as evening fell. "This is where he will come," she said. Jonah studied the ground. Rock walls, limited escape, good ground. As the sky darkened, Caleb appeared, alone. His horse stopped just outside the pass. "You always like corners," he called. Jonah stepped forward. "And you always underestimated the land." Caleb laughed. "This ends tonight." Kyra stood beside Jonah, steady despite pain. Caleb saw her clearly now, not hanging, not broken. He understood too late. The first shot echoed. Stone cracked. Sparks flew. The desert answered. When silence returned, only 3 figures remained standing. Caleb dropped to one knee, injured, angry. "This is not how it was supposed to go," he said. Jonah lowered his rifle. "It never is." Kyra looked at Caleb, not with hate, but certainty. "This land does not belong to you." The wind rose, carrying dust away, and the desert waited for the final choice yet to come. The wind slowed as if the land itself was listening. Dust settled around the narrow pass. The silence pressed heavy. Caleb knelt on the stone, blood darkening the ground beneath him, his breath sharp, uneven. Jonah kept his rifle raised, but his finger did not tighten. Kyra stood still, her knife low, her eyes steady. "This does not end with killing," she said. Caleb laughed weakly. "You think mercy saves you." Kyra stepped closer, every movement measured, controlled. "Mercy is not for you," she said. "This is about ending what you started." Jonah felt the weight of the moment, the past pulling at him, urging him to finish it the old way. He lowered the rifle. "I hunted men once," he said. "Ended lives because it was easier than carrying them." Caleb looked up, recognition flashing in his eyes. "You always were weak," he said. Jonah shook his head. "No, I was afraid." Kyra placed a hand on Jonah's arm, not stopping him, grounding him. Caleb tried to rise. Failed. "The land has judged you," Kyra said. She took his weapon, threw it beyond reach. "We leave you alive, but finished." Caleb cursed, rage burning behind pain. You think this frees you? Jonah answered calmly. It frees us. They turned away, leaving Caleb alive, broken, alone with the desert he tried to control. They walked until the pass widened, until the wind no longer carried his voice. Only then did Kyra slow. The strain finally caught her. Her steps faltered. Jonah caught her. Steady. Close. You pushed too far, he said. She met his gaze. So, did you? They rested beneath a rock overhang, shade cutting the heat. Jonah cleaned her wounds. Careful. Patient. No one had tended her like this before. Why stay? She asked quietly. Jonah did not answer at once. Because leaving would mean running. And I am done with that. Kyra nodded, understanding deeper than words. When the sun lowered again, they moved east toward the high stone, toward the place where water still lived. The desert stretched ahead, but it no longer felt empty. Two paths had crossed, and chosen not to separate. The pass lay behind them, wounded, but no longer chasing. And the land watched as they walked forward. Together, dawn broke soft and pale, light touching the high stone gently. Kyra stopped at the edge of a narrow rise. The land opened before them, quiet, enduring. This is where the water runs, she said. Not seen, but alive. Jonah felt it, coolness beneath heat, life beneath stone. They sat in silence, letting the morning settle. The danger was gone, but the weight of what followed remained. My people will protect this place, Kyra said. They will rebuild trust, not fences. Jonah nodded. And you, he asked. Kyra looked toward the mountains, then back at him. I stay long enough to heal, long enough to choose. Jonah accepted that answer. It was honest. He stared at his hands. Hands that once chased men. Hands that had learned to stop. I do not know what comes next, he said. Kyra smiled slightly. Not soft, but real. No one does. That is why choice matters. They shared water. Not rationed, not feared, just shared. The sun climbed higher, warming stone, warming skin. Jonah stood. My ranch is west. Empty. Quiet. Kyra rose slowly, testing her strength. Then we walked together for a while. They did. Side by side. No bargain. No debt. Only two people who faced the worst of themselves and did not turn away. The desert did not witness a promise. It witnessed resolve. Some lives are not redeemed by grand acts, but by the moment someone chooses to stay. Not because they must, but because they will. And in that choice, both found something stronger than survival. They found direction.